Hello guys, it's Pete from MyJewelryBench.com. Today we're going to cover something I haven't really covered in the past. What do you do when you drop your watch on a hard surface and all the little dial indicators fall off the watch? Most of the time, the watch will stop running because, like in this particular instance, if you look, the bezel ring that circles the upper right dial indicator, the sub dial, is wrapped around the sub hand, and it actually can cause some damage to the watch movement. So as soon as this happens, you want to have your watch serviced. So I'm going to show you today how we're going to fix it. Let's get started. And before we get started with the watch repair, I just wanted to take some time out to thank all my Patreon supporters who help support this channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if you do any CAD work for jewelry design and you become a $5 Patreon supporter, you can get Blender Gems for free from my website. Thanks very much, guys, and thank you for all the support. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do when we get a watch in that all the dial indicators have been popped off, and this is a rare example. This particular watch only has one dial decorative bezel that's come off. A lot of times when a watch hits the ground, you'll see that the numeric indicators, where the 1 through 12 are glued onto the dial or pressed onto the dial, will pop off. Sometimes I'll see hands pop off. Sometimes even just tapping it against something, if the watch isn't made very well or poor production quality, things can pop off that dial. So what we need to do to get started in this is first take the watch apart. So I've got my gloves on because I know a lot of you guys don't like me not wearing gloves, so we're wearing gloves for safety's sake. And we are going to use our opener to open this watch. Now this is an Echo drive, so whatever you do with an Echo drive, never remove the battery. I know some people like to, but if you don't know how to put one back in, you will have a problem. So on a Seiko solar powered or a Citizen Echo drive or a Bulova Echo drive watch, any solar powered watch that's available today, just don't remove the battery, just leave it in place. First thing we're going to do is unscrew this case back, if we can get it. And once that's out, you can see the case was made in China. So much for Citizen being made in Japan or Taiwan anymore. And we have to find the little pusher to get our crown out. I'm going to grab a small screwdriver. Pusher should be, if we can zoom in here. I'm going to zoom in as best I can. And we're going to look for the little pusher arrow. And you can see the little pusher arrow right here, points to that location there. So what we want to do is have the crown in the first position. And we are going to push down there and release the stem out of the watch. I didn't get that on film, I apologize. So what I did was I pushed down on the release right there, and the crown will release and you can pull the crown out. I'm going to put that aside. Now we have to gently get this movement out of the case. So what I'm going to do is use a small screwdriver to wedge up this plastic piece, and we'll lift out the movement. And that looks pretty good. Now we have to be very careful getting that bezel ring off the hands. So first thing you want to do is look and examine where the ring wraps around which hands, because it's going to have to come out in a specific order as not to damage it. And it looks like we're kind of wrapped around the second hand, and the watch still wants to run. So I'm going to be very, very careful here. Just gently easing this out like so. And now that I've got that off, here is our ring. and that goes right there. So we're going to re-glue that back onto the dial. The watch is running, and that's a good sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my handy little stem here, and we're going to push that back in, pull that out to the second position, and I'm going to try to get this to move the hands out of the way, and hopefully it does. Yeah, one more. We'll make sure it's out of the way there. Perfect. I'm going to push in the crown, pull that out one click, and now we have clear access to the area where we need to re-glue the bezel back onto this little sub-dial. Now I'm going to put this aside here, and I'm going to show you what I typically do. First, I grab a piece of scrap paper, and I take my scrap paper, and then I get some dial cement or watch crystal cement, or you can use whatever decent, not super glue, but a slow moving, easy to remove glue. And I use rocket cement here. I think it's right there. Rocket cylinder cement. And what I do is I take and I put it on the paper. I just kind of dab it onto a little bit of a pattern like so, and make sure that I get enough there. This stuff's inexpensive. It's easy to buy. You can get it just about anywhere, and I'll put a link in the description below as well as on the website. Then make sure that you put the cap back in. If I can get that in there. And then I'll screw it back on. Put that aside. The next thing you want to do, and I typically do this under a microscope just because, hey, my eyes aren't perfect. I'll take my dial ring, and that's the ring that we want to get epoxied back on. And I'm just going to lightly dab it onto the glue in a couple of places around it. Now once that's done, I can get rid of this little piece of paper, and then very carefully put that back onto the dial. And once I've got it close, I'm going to take a little stick so that I don't damage anything, and then I will move this into position all around the sub-dial like so. That looks good, and I'm going to let that dry for about 5 minutes. Once that's dry, we will reassemble the watch, so I will be back in a moment. Okay, so we're back, and look at what I've got. I've got a watch that is back together. The bezels are all back put in place. It's just that one that we had to worry about, and our watch is working. What I have to do now is go through the complete reset procedures with this watch and make sure that it's on the correct time. So I will do that in a little bit here, but I'm not going to show you how to do that. So guys, if you like this video and you found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. And any comments or suggestions that you have, please leave in the suggestions or comments below this video. And you can read the article where I explain how I do this at my website on the blog. So thank you very much, guys, and check out myjewelrybench.com for more information.